Hello again. I'm Edward Trapunski. I'm not Anna Porter, who is going to present this award to Rhea Tregebov for Talking to Strangers, which is the winner of the Canadian Jewish Literary Award for Poetry. Book is terrific. Rhea is definitely one of our best poets in this generation. We're all strangers in the starting life of midnight is the opening line from her poem, White Nights, and it echoes the title of this new lyrical collection of Rhea Tregebov's poetry. The eighth book, this is her eighth book of poetry, confirms her place among the most significant poets of her generation. Her Jewish heritage informs refuah, which is Hebrew for healing, and especially Kaddish, Villanelle, her lyrical approach to the Hebrew prayer for her dead father. Even with the lament of talking to strangers, she ends hopefully with a final poem proclaiming Hineni, I am here. And here is Rhea Tregebov.
It might seem almost redundant to thank the jury yet again, but I have to say this is one of the most gracious and one of the most generous awards that I've had the great fortune to be included among, and I really want to thank everyone. I know how much work it is to be on this kind of jury, and we've just been treated beautifully, and I really am very appreciative. I did want to read 3 poems from the book. There is a section in the book called Talking to Strangers that is nonfiction. It began one poem at a time, but I found myself encountering strangers and bemused and moved by the intimacy that would suddenly arise from these encounters. And we judge people at a distance, and I'm lucky to have my Toronto family here today, and they probably know just how harshly I judge people at a distance and closely, but I found in these poems and in the conversations I was able to have that somehow these strangers transfigured into people that we could understand, and the dehumanization that is so easy ebbed. This one is in the series, and it's called Talk, IDF. Each of these poems has a place and a time, and this is Tel Aviv to Haifa, March 2018. At the station, the world's smallest soldier gives up her seat for me on the slow train to Haifa. Other than thank you, I don't know what to say. All the long way she leans against the baggage rack, her head not grazing its railing. Jostled, scrolling her phone, watching American cooking shows in miniature. She looks good in khaki. You wouldn't think they made uniforms that size, but it fits. The Uzi, rate of fire 600 rounds per minute, fits too. All the young soldiers look at home with their fresh weapons, knapsacks. As we near Haifa, I thank her again, 2 hours on her feet instead of me. She tells me it's her job. It's a soldier's job to give up seats to older women on trains, to admonish others in strict Hebrew to give up theirs. She's from New Jersey, she says, been here 2 years. Didn't know a word of Hebrew. She's a volunteer. Isn't it hard in combat not knowing the language well? In combat, it isn't hard. You just go where the others go, do what they do. She was in Nablus. It was rough. They're letting her out early. She'll stay in Haifa, she says, find a place to live. Her hand steady on the Uzi. And I'll read two more poems from the book. There's a section in the book of love poems. And my partner, Sam, is a child of Holocaust survivors. And we know how long that legacy lingers. So this poem is for Sam. It's called Second Generation. You want to keep everything. Obsolete, dust-encrusted, plastic-wrapped blank mini-cassettes for the defunct video camera that caught the kids' lives. Vacant jewel cases that don't hold any of the music you don't play. To save everything. The tin can long parted from its label that might hold something good. The 80s sweatshirt, fluorescent logo resting flake by plastic flake into cipher. To keep everything you never had. That real live monkey orphaned in its teacup, the back pages of the comic book offered for the little you couldn't afford. Just one glance from the girl practicing flute in the girls' bathroom, its lonesome tones not for you. To save everything the war took. Your father's mother, his father side by side. Her lace collar, white blouse pressed, his suit solemn, dark. Unknowable uncles, aunts, cousins, their faces in photos on no wall. And this one is called Refuah. This is also for Sam. The first time you kissed me, an even dozen years ago, in your beautiful house overlooking the garden, the water, the mountains, and held me, a grown woman who had traveled to where I found you, mostly past hope. I laid my head against your chest and said, "You feel like home." And when I said home, I must have thought of places I knew. My last city, where in the bustle, every call has its response. Or the place I grew up in, prairie that might welcome anyone. But perhaps home to you is ancestral, the land of Israel, a place of milk and honey, olive groves, the land we're traveling in, where I keep asking what words mean, and you keep knowing. Israel, which is also Palestine, a land fractured, the land maybe where you live, where there is always war. Home, where you stay armed and ready, because you come from a hard place I never lived, where I live sometimes with you. I ask if refuah in Hebrew means remedy, and you tell me healing. Thank you very much.